All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Upstream with RiverX. Today I have with me Dan and Ken from RiverX to chat a little bit about their business. Before we jump into it, we'll have our standard disclaimer. So anything you hear on this podcast shouldn't be considered as financial advice. It's here for factual and educational purposes only. But with that, Ken and Dan, welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
How long has it been?
Be back.
About 12 months.
About 12 months. About 12 months.
Did the first one.
I feel like we were little babies then.
Yeah. Well, I think a few things have changed. Like the quality of set for the podcast has changed, but also a lot has changed professionally for you guys as well. So I wanted to bring you guys on here just so we can update our network and your clients a little bit about your journey with us and how your business has grown since you joined us. So, but before we get into that, it might be worthwhile just giving a quick recap for our listeners on sort of who you are and what you do at RiverX.
Yeah, I'll start. So my name's Daniel Phan. Been at RiverX since around the start of last year, just over a year running now. Prior to that, I was head of a trading division. I've worked in some of the big four banks, and I've got a degree in finance from UNSW. Outside of that, really like sports, really like just sort of personal development. And in the last year, me and Ken, we merged our books together, and it's been a really, really good journey since then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Ken Monares, private wealth advisor at RiverX. I've been with Kieran and the firm for a little bit over a year. And much like Dan, we both came from a finance background at a different firm. But prior to that, I think my experience was really rooted in business, coming from the Philippines, where I was where I helped manage a record label as a CEO there, as well as a garments manufacturing company, to now, bringing that expertise to what Kieran, RiverX, and what Dan and I are building within our businesses. Much like Dan and KB, I love sports, and I just love the opportunity to learn and growing as a person, personally and professionally as well.
It's been great. You guys are one of our what I'd consider to be like foundation advisors. So you're one of the first to join us after I brought in Julius and a couple of others to the business early on. So you did take a bit of a chance in coming over. Yeah. And I think what we touched on in the last podcast, you had this big sort of learning curve, like not just dealing in listed assets, but also looking at unlisted and more sophisticated products. In the last podcast, we talked about the education experience for clients. But what I'd like to touch on today is more around the numbers of what that has actually done for you. So, we get together regularly. We talk about your goals and your objectives as individuals. And, I've tried to create a business that acts as an infrastructure hub for financial advisors to help you grow and I guess cultivate your business and to provide your clients with good solutions. So now that I've brought you into this environment, this infrastructure hub, can you tell me a little bit about the growth that you've experienced over the last 12 months?
Yeah, to be honest, it's been quite tremendous. I think it comes down to, what you and Julius are doing with the wide range of different products and different options available for clients. In terms of growth, when Ken and I started about a year ago and merged our books together, I think it's close to about a 5x from what we're managing.
542% since we first merged our book together in Feb.
Got the numbers.
Yeah.
Down to the T.
Yeah.
But so it's been quite significant growth, and I've been in the industry, particularly in broking, for about 5 years prior to this, and to get that sort of growth in a year is quite bizarre. But I think a lot of it was obviously due to Ken and I just sort of being here and working really hard, but also because of the deal flow. I mean, a lot of the growth in the book has not only come from new clients, but it's come from clients that have just developed more trust for us. And because of the different products we offer, the different levels of risk, the different sort of returns that we can aim for, and just a wide variety of different options, it's been a lot easier to sort of build those relationships and gain more trust from clients.
And I think I would say like you guys have obviously grown a lot as individuals, and I see the work that you're doing every day. Like you're coming in, you're in early, finishing late, you're attending the meetings, you're making the calls, you're following the business development strategy that we've put in front of you, and you're looking at all the different products we have, which helps. But ultimately, if you're not making the calls, or you're not holding the meetings, or you're not networking with the right people, you're just not going to see that growth. You can have the best products on earth, but it comes down to your work ethic and the culture of the business.
Yeah.
And I think you've had some really measurable milestones outside of growing your funds under management. Like every financial advisor wants to grow that because that's the typical measure of success in our line of work. But outside of that, you've had some new hires, new people in your team as well.
Yep.
So maybe if you could tell us a little bit about the growth of your desk, the growth of your business, and what that's looked like over the past 12 months.
Yeah, so when Dan and I first merged our books together in Feb, it was just a two-man show, right? Running as lean as possible, doing everything ourselves, from learning how to be organized, even more organized with all the paperwork that comes with dealing with wholesale clients and wholesale investment opportunities, but also managing the relationships with those clients. That kind of inspired us from your lead, inspired us to hire our first intern, which is Adler. And since then, we've employed Adler on a full-time basis. She's currently our junior analyst / desk associate, and Dan can attest to this, the pivotal role she's played in being able to work with our clients a little bit more efficiently and allow us more time to do what's most important to the business as well, which is spotting these opportunities and speaking to these clients and letting them know of what the market is doing and how they can take advantage of it. And Dan?
Yeah, I think she's been instrumental to our success, particularly starting out. And, it came at a cost, came at a time where, we had to invest in her and put her on a salary, and just sort of two guys starting their books out. It was hard to quantify at the start, but, we have a little joke in our team, like we call her the boss. Like she runs the sort of day-to-day sort of administration tasks. She tells us like what we need to do, and she gives us the flexibility and the time to do things like this.
It's like having a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Right. Personally for me, what made training a lot easier for me was just having a personal trainer, have your routine set out, what you're training and when. Adler's like that for us in our business, where she'll align things for us in favor of what we need to accomplish first in terms of priority. And again, allows us more time to focus on what really matters for the business.
Yeah. On top of Adler, we've recently hired Andrew as well as one of our analysts. So Andrew and I go back from like 2017. We used to trade markets together, and he was sort of one of my mentors that taught me a lot. So yeah, we're bringing him on board for a new project that we've got, expecting to launch this year, but that'll help us tackle not only private markets, but public markets as well. So yeah, it's been really good. We've got 4, including Ken and myself now. And, one of the goals that we set up for this year is to sort of continue building out the team. But solid foundation so far.
Yeah, it's been great because like when I put together my business development strategy for your team, said at a certain amount of funds under management, you should consider adding this to your team, or at the next level, you should consider adding that to your team. At the next level, you should consider adding that service to your offering to clients as well, and you guys are delivering on that. And you just touched upon it. Then you got some projects that you're working on now. So, do you want, can you tell us a little bit about some of the projects that you're working on?
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the main ones we've sort of building right now is it's called like a managed discretionary account. It's basically acts as a service where, as an advisor, we can trade for clients without necessarily getting them on the phone and getting the permission to authorize the trade. I see it as beneficial twofold. I mean, in my experience where I used to trade in the past, you'd be on the phone all day trying to get in contact with every client, which isn't the most efficient use of your time. The prices are moving, stocks trade, they're very, very volatile, so you might not get the best price on the day. But for us as a business, I think what's why we're doing this is because I think what we have at River, the infrastructure, the deal flow we get access to is second to none really. Like we get really good products, really good, very diverse range of asset classes we can invest in. But me and myself being a trader and having that background, I think being able to maximize performance and taking advantage of, inefficiencies in the stock market, I think that's where, we can just perform better, I'd say. And it's a good thing for clients. I mean, all the clients like talking about the stock market and just keeping in front of it. There's, good returns to be made as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we cater to that under our own AFSL as well, so it makes it a bit easier.
Yeah.
If you're carring up somewhere or if you're using someone else's license, I mean, these things are a little bit more difficult to get off the ground, but we've got experience in MDAs, so it means you can trade for clients on a discretionary basis, which, as you said, makes it a more efficient solution for you guys as well. And in terms of like the year that's been, I know that you've had a big year. It's been a lot, like in terms of professional development, client book growth, but you've also had a lot of investments that you've deployed.
Yeah.
What were some of your best investments of 2024 for clients?
So there were quite a few, and we're still sort of realizing that this year, I mean, we've got a pretty big year ahead for the investments. Some notable ones, I'd probably say the secondary we did in PsiQuantum, which is a quantum computing company. So we got into that around the middle of last year through, you could say, like a distress sale in a way. So that gave us really good pricing, really good flexibility on that. But we found out recently that we've had a significant uplift in valuation. I'm not sure if I can sort of get into the details yet, but it's quite significant, and we've got one of the largest fund managers in the world leading that round as well. So that's going to be very exciting for us and our clients. To get a really good result in quite a short space of time, I'd say is fantastic. And just to be invested and then being exposed to the minds behind quantum computing and the funds behind it has been really good as well in terms of strengthening our relationships.
Yeah. On top of that, I think we saw very strong performance from private equity ventures that we got access to via you guys, and leveraging what Dan and I have created out of our network, particularly in tech and healthcare ventures. Aside from that, what's some of our favorites that have performed really well have been the what they call the vanilla type of investments, the private credit investments that do just stimulate a bit of income for our clients while being exposed and invested in the more higher growth opportunities. So I think, our favorites have really been a balance of one, listed equities, private equity ventures, but even more so just creating the foundation of it all in private credit.
Yeah. And you've had exposure to listed investments as well. Like I know you do a lot of direct trading as well, so you've managed to get the best of that market uplift we saw last year.
Yep.
We were talking about it this morning. I think most funds last year, if they were long equities, like 20 to 30%, if they're any good, returns in small caps and in the international large caps as well. And then it sounds like you've seen a multiple on the first deal you mentioned, and then the other, I know what you're talking about too. So, but they've all been good. Like it's been good, but like with good, there's often underperformers as well. So just to balance that out, what were some of the things that didn't go to plan last year?
Yeah, so I think there was probably one that comes to mind. Not that it's gone bad by any means or anything like that, but just the timing of it was a private equity deal, expecting an outcome last year. Haven't gotten that outcome yet, but they're still working on it, and we're still expecting a pretty good result for clients. So that was a really sort of big learning curve as well, getting into the industry and sort of learning how to do your due diligence more thoroughly. But things happen, and like you said, it's always got to balance itself out. But to be honest, there wasn't too many sort of bad ones that we had last year. I mean, especially given my past career when I was trading in crypto and stock markets where things were really, really volatile. I think what you guys have done a really good job of is setting up infrastructure for us where everything is properly vetted, and there's very rarely any bad surprises that you get.
The worst thing we've seen is things not going to a timetable. Yeah. That's been the one thing that has been a learning curve for you guys. And I said that when you came on board. I said, look, we don't really invest in corporate mandates or speculative IPOs here. It's something that we did at our inception, but then I ruled it out very quickly. Yeah. And if advisors do that, that's on their own bat. but we don't actively promote them internally. And the reason why we've stepped away from that is because of the big drawdowns that you see in portfolios when these things underperform.
Yeah.
I've seen so many small cap listings or mid cap listings that have dropped 20, 30, 40%. I've seen some do well, but they're not really in the main. That's like your 10, 20% of the market. So, and when you guys came over, I said, you're not going to see that drawdown when you invest in our sort of product range. What could happen though is you could see a delay.
Yeah.
You could see a delay in a project. You could see a distribution not hit on time. You could so it's not a guarantee by any stretch, but it does mean that a bad outcome for you might look like a delay or a distribution not hitting on time versus a 20, 30% or more drawdown, which is nowhere near as bad.
Yeah.
So it's more annoying than a disaster for you and the client.
I think to add to that as well, what's most important in those kind of situations is keeping a balanced perspective, right? Because one way or another, may it be now or later on, losses become parts of investments. It's how well you mitigate those losses is what's most important. And those losses also allow you the opportunity to recalibrate and where to adjust depending on what clients are looking for or what the overall strategy is looking for us and for our team or for another advisor's team.
And that ties in really well to the next point is, we're sort of talking about winners, losers, your growth. Can you talk a bit about maybe some client success stories or client growth stories that you've had over the past 12 months?
Yeah, in terms of success, I'd honestly put it down to the flexibility they now have, because with sectors like private credit and that being really built for like Australian retirees in terms of the benefits, that's been really good, because in the past I had clients that would like be up and worried about what's happening overnight in the US market and sort of calling up first thing in the morning, how's that going to impact my portfolio? But when we've shifted, more into private markets, particularly private credit, where we're getting pretty regular distributions, everything's in line with expectations, and there's not much volatility compared to the stock market. That's been really good, just to help them enjoy their retirements really and get that constant distribution of income.
Yeah, I think a lot of our clients have had the same feedback from us, from the previous firm we were at, and the type of offering has been a stark line of comparison, right? Nowadays, it's just more about being able to offer access to different investment opportunities that the typical investor wouldn't get access to. And you're not just investing in listed equities. You're, for example, if I may, Eleanor, right? Eleanor Funds, for example, last year gave us the opportunity to invest in a property that was 97% leased by the ATO. Now, in my previous firm that we were at, we wouldn't have gotten those kind of opportunities anywhere. So being able to provide those and the likes of the quantum computing investment to our clients just makes them feel a little bit more excited to what's out there. And then they're opening their perspective to other types of investment opportunities that they're not used to, or that they haven't been exposed to in the past.
And the way we normally like to position it is you have like a core and satellite approach to it. And at the core of your investment strategies where you keep your more conservative solutions, and then you have your alpha generating investment opportunities that sit outside.
Yep.
So then we're now overlaying that with the holistic advice piece. So we've got planners, we've got wholesale advisors, we're marrying the two together. And we're saying, right, how can we provide these clients with more holistic offerings? So now we're looking at the client as a whole and saying, right, top to bottom, what are your goals? What do your outflows look like? What does your cash flow look like? How can we better optimize that? And how can we protect you in the right way as well? So all of that's been coming along really nicely, and that's helping foster some success for you guys.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so we've talked about the client success stories. What were some of your biggest lessons from last year?
I think time management in this game is extremely important. So, I mean, I think we had a really good year last year. We built a really solid foundation, but you can always be doing better. One thing I personally learned last year was just to, I was training for a marathon towards the tail end of last year, and it was like very difficult to, get into that routine, but also run a business and have staff and everything at the same time. So I think just being able to optimize your time better and being more efficient in things you need to do outside of work. But when you're in work, not sort of messing around or not spending too long on one task, but like being more efficient could always be improved. Yeah.
I think for me, last year was a perfect example of things going right when you look after yourself. I remember in the previous podcast we mentioned, we were yet to do the high rocks. And throughout that 12-month period, I completed, 2 high rockses, 1 in Sydney, 1 in Perth, and 2 boxing matches. And I think for myself, which translates to the business, in being able to keep myself sharp, I was able to, assist Dan in maintaining our business and keeping it up to scratch as well. I'm yet to find a time where I'm not training and not succeeding in business. So now I just think those two are correlated. And this year, that's going to be my recurring lesson that I'm going to apply.
We did talk about that at the beginning, and I said, like, coming into this environment, it's a different culture.
Yeah.
I think that my view is that the mid-tier market in the stockbroking industry and wealth management industry is fundamentally broken. You've got too many of the advisors that love the long lunch, and they've got the red nose from too many bottles of red and all that sort of stuff. And that's fun for 1% of your time, but when it's a lifestyle, it's not good. And I know that we promote health and fitness within our business quite heavily, and we believe that it's synonymous with a good professional career as well. And every year we try and book in events for the team to do, or people who want to be involved can be involved. If they're not going to be involved, I'm going to do it anyway. And I've already booked in our first charity event. So the first one will be the 100 for Harper, which is a 100K team effort, which is in April between ergs and running and all that sort of stuff. And it's a cure for brain cancer fundraiser. So we'll get that up on our socials. But the plan this year for us and for you guys as well is to have a quarterly event, because you can still have times where you might stray from the plan, but it brings you back on track. So quarterly fitness events, quarterly charity events, they tend to keep you on plan.
Yeah.
So,
something to look forward to on a personal level as well.
Yeah.
Like last year, as a group, we did City to Surf, supporting, was it Starlight?
Yeah, Starlight Children's Foundation.
Yeah, and I looked forward to that for 2 weeks, and it kept us locked in for 2 weeks because we knew, all right, cool, there's no distractions, we're just training, and then this is what we're doing, and in turn, the business just performed tremendously. Yeah.
And I think the business does well, and when you're building as well, and that's what you guys are doing, you're building a business within a business.
Yeah.
You need to have discipline.
Yeah.
And that discipline, like if you're training at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, that normally translate to handling everything in the office as well.
And to add to that, it's different for other people, right? Their discipline comes from different places. People love writing. People like reading.
Yeah.
For us, it just happens to be,
lifting tin and
ourselves.
running.
Hurting ourselves.
We're constantly chasing pain, it seems. But and you're right, it is different. Not everyone has to train for it to work.
Yeah.
It has to be something that's your anchor. And like I couldn't see Adler doing a high rocks or boxing match with
I reckon
us.
she could though.
She probably could. But she enjoys other things, right?
Yeah.
And it's just about having that foundation.
Yeah.
And I think, like we've touched upon the biggest learnings from last year. Like, how do you see this year going for you guys? Like, do you have some actionable or practical ideas on how you think the year ahead might look?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for us, I think it's just about continuing. I think last year we built a really good foundation, and we've sort of set up our identity as like a group together on who we are, what we want to build towards, and sort of where we want to get to. Actionable stuff this year is execute on the investments we made in last year. Do as best we can to ensure those are doing well. Increase the FUM growth. I'd say we've got a little number that we've got in our minds by the end of the year, which we're pretty dead set on achieving. And I think growing the team out more and providing more opportunities to our existing staff will be really good as well. And the new product that we're launching, making that stand out and sort of building a good reputation for clients and investors around that. is fundamental.
For sure. And like what Dan was saying, it's just continuing the momentum that we created last year. I think Dan and I put ourselves in a very good position within the industry, or within our peers in the industry, by just attending a little bit more events, not taking up too much time in doing so, but fostering those relationships that in turn help us out, who we're able to help out as well. So not many people know this, but Dan and I are called OFG within River. So that's what we call our desk. And Dan and I often hold, or once a quarter, we try to hold events within, some some of our younger peers in the industry as well, over a course of a networking event. May it be dinner, may it be indoor golf.
You did at the end of year networking
Yeah, we did
event.
the end of year,
and that was at Watson's Bay Hotel.
Watson's Bay Hotel.
Yeah.
We had a few guests there, and all of which we work with or want to work with, right? And that's the kind of nature that we want to breed around ourselves, and we want to continue to nurture that this year.
And you told me the focus this year might be building personal brand a bit more.
Yes.
And that's something that we're very supportive of. So,
Yeah.
we have obviously, marketing, social media policies like any other licensee has. But then we have like an approval process. It's pretty streamlined. But then that gives you the freedom to build a personal brand as well, which we've talked about a lot.
Yep.
And obviously things like this really help with that.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really powerful way to create a point of difference. It's a saturated market, even though it's getting smaller. It's still a very saturated and established market. How do you see that helping you over the next 12 months?
I think it'll be a lot of time. Dan and I figured this out last year. All things considered, personal growth, both getting engaged last year, building the business, hiring 2 staff members, Dan building out the MDA. It is another full-time role to be able to complete. But I think with the broader firm and, you guys in management supporting it, allows us to want to give it more time as well. And, understanding that it is going to grow our businesses and our personal brands quite rapidly as well.
So changing gear a little bit, obviously you've got a very good plan on the business building, business development front. For the benefit of your clients who'll probably be listening to this, do you have some predictions or forecasts for 2025? How do you see markets going?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting year this year. So I started my career trading for clients at least during Trump's first presidency, and you were in the industry back then. It was very volatile. He'd put a tweet out and then the markets would drop or jump up. So obviously predictions are always hard, but I think this year we're probably going to see more froth. We're going to see possibly more higher highs, I'd say, but I think you've also got to be very cautious. You've got 2 things balancing out right now. You've got a change in the political structure on a global scale, to be upfront, but you've also got, potentially a looming recession that everyone's sort of been worried about, and sort of weakening an economy. So, it's going to be difficult this year, but I think by the core and satellite approach that we use, having a majority of funds in sort of low volatility or low risk investments, and having a smaller portion in those sort of outsized potential returns, I think that's going to be pivotal in terms of doing well this year.
And what about so that being said, you're aware of the geopolitical landscape. You're saying that obviously things will become more volatile. So volatility can be your friend or your enemy, depending on which side of it you're on. How are you positioning portfolios then? Maybe touch upon your best and worst picks for 2025 at a sector level.
Yeah, so interesting. So prior to the election result, we kind of went in terms of the stock market, at least, we got into a few crypto related plays. We knew Trump, in the whole campaign was talking a lot about crypto. So we're buying, crypto Bitcoin miners and like exchanges that are listed on the stock market, and those have done incredibly well. We've reduced a lot of those positions, but interestingly enough, we're getting into things like lithium right now, sectors that have been beaten down because although we're not going aggressively into them, but they're at a point where the price or the risk to reward is quite desirable. Then things that haven't worked out. I mean, the bond trade worked out really well at the start of last year when everyone was sort of worried about where things were going. We got into long duration bonds, but since then the market's been really frothy. So, but that's what I like about the strategy. I mean, we haven't lost a significant amount in that position. It's very low volatility.
Well, lucky you've got AB there.
Yeah.
That's Andrew Baker.
Yeah, that's Andrew. Yeah.
So he's the mind
Yeah.
behind the trading strategy, which is great. So you've got the two of you who are the face of the business. You've got Adler, who's basically the voice. So she was the first person someone speaks to, and then you've got AB, the mind. Basically the
Mega mind.
Yeah, Mega Mind helping you with all your trades.
Yeah.
It's good. He turned up today looking like a tech bro.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah.
It suits him a
I
lot.
thought it was straight out of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I was wondering who was the new hire.
and you cut all his hair off too.
Yeah.
He's been on the gym grind as well.
Yeah. So you talked about I guess those are your favorite investments going forward for 2025. What do the growth plans look like for you guys this year?
I think the main focus again would just be continuing on that momentum, and what Dan and I want to focus on. We discussed last week during a light strategy session is we want to onboard and hire 2 more staff members before the year ends, primarily in the BD side of things, business development, so that Dan and I, again, our time is a little bit freed up for existing clients and assisting them with their investments and managing portfolios and assisting them to manage the risk. Whereas these new hires are able to identify opportunities, speak to new clients that inquire, and eventually put them on a career path as well that'll allow them to become an advisor as well and be side by side with us in doing the roles that we do. Last year, we actually had Adler join us again as an intern who wanted to graduate into a junior analyst, which she did. But more and more, she's finding a lot of success in the business development side of things as well. And people wanting to speak to her and reach out to her. She reaches out to them. They respond and book meetings. So, it's really, for those that join our team, it's really an open path. We assist in helping you identify your strengths, like Dan and I have assisted each other in identifying our strengths, and then we set the course, right, and ensuring that you get there, and make sure that you do your best to be able to get to that point. If that's not the point that you want to end up at, or that's not the path that you want to end up on, then there's always flexibility within our team to be able to find what you truly love and truly are good at.
And I think it's good. Like we'll give you the flex for the space as well.
Yeah.
We're upgrading offices, all that sort of stuff. So it'd be interesting to listen back to the podcast in 12 months' time.
Yeah.
And see if you've done things that you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And more importantly, see if the predictions and the equities and all that sort of
This
stuff.
is on Dan.
Yeah, it's all on you.
It's all on you, man.
I think for me, one thing that I really want to work on this year and for the business is actually expanding our offering, like our investment strategy into the US. One thing I've learned, especially investing in private equity, is it's like Frank from Ellie Bridge says, the US is like really where it's at.
There's only one MBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And just with everything that's happening with AI and all these new technologies, I think the US is gonna, and with Trump coming in as well, I think the US could potentially explode in some areas. And I want to be a part of that. I want to build the network out and get our clients access to some of the best deals on the street, really.
Well, we talked about that today, though. We got a couple of new funds that we've signed exclusivity with that are top ranked, large and small cap funds
In
the US, because you need boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of laughing, but you've got analysts in Mossman and Paddington. And, they're kind of not there.
Yeah.
Like they're probably good at interpreting data and market trends, but they're not there. And having someone on the ground gives you a different touch, different visibility over those markets, and ultimately we think that could get better outcomes
For sure.
for your clients. But look, I think it's going to be an exciting year for you guys.
Yeah.
I think for investors generally, it's going to be a very volatile year. That's the feel I'm getting, and it will really come down to rates.
Yeah.
What happens with rates? Everyone was waiting for a rate cut last year. we didn't really have it here.
Yeah.
And I think it could drag out. And as I say, rate rises can last longer than you can expect.
Yeah, that came out just last week. Like a lot of the US banks were, instead of expecting it in March or May, now it's like pushed back and less. So
They keep pushing it out. It
Yeah.
keeps getting pushed out. The data keeps changing. People have got short memories. If you look back historically, how long can these trends play out? It can be years. It can be 5-6 years. It can be longer. You just got to have a good balance.
Yeah.
So that you can work your way through. But guys, thank you so much for coming on. We've been going for about 40 minutes.
I got another 20 in me.
You know,
I'm kidding.
no, just thank you so much for coming on. I thought it'd be great and useful for you to get the message out to your clients about how you're going, and also we can share sort of how you've grown. And 542% growth in FUM in 12 months is awesome. Hopefully we can do it again in the next 12 months.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us.
All
Appreciate
good.
the
All
opportunity.
good. And guys, thanks for tuning in to Upstream with RiverX.
See you guys.